Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Speedway Five-1 show. Hopefully you managed to catch all the episodes so far, including the good one we had and the last one was with Ollie Allen, Team GB manager, former rider. I'm sure we're going to try and get him back on again to discuss even more things Speedway related, and hopefully maybe even have Simon Stead on one time as well. So maybe we can have a joint sort of Zoom conversation. Tonight, my guest is a young rider who has literally hit the ground running for the last few years, starting from the National League and took that by storm. He is now an England senior rider as well as at under 19, under 21 level. He made his Speedway of Nations debut this year, and things like that. And he's on the way up, and just watch out for him. He's coming for you next year, really. He's already signed for a club in Poland, so watch out Poland for next year. So please welcome to the show, Drew Kemp.
Hello, how you doing?
Pretty good, mate. Pretty good. How are you keeping?
Yeah, all good, all good. So just doing a regular thing and training a lot. So everything I should be doing is what I'm doing ready for next year.
Nice. Bikes already yet?
Uh, no, I don't think so. I mean, that's on the list of things I've got to do. But obviously, I've got David Wallinger helping me out this year, so he's looking after my bikes. So I suppose the person to ask about that is him. But as far as I know, they're all stripped, ready to go. So yeah, it's just about a matter of building them up again.
Yeah, and looking forward to hopefully a busier 2021 rather than obviously the shortened season we had this year.
Yeah, it's obviously sounding pretty positive for next year now, isn't it? And
Yeah.
obviously I'll be really busy next year with Gdansk and Ipswich and Eastbourne. So yeah, it's going to be sort of the complete opposite to this year. And I think when you look back at when you look at next year and how busy I'll be, I'll probably be grateful for a little break as what we had this year. So no, I'm looking forward to it, and yeah, just you know, raring to go already.
Mm. Yeah, I can imagine you're chomping at the bits. I mean, you had a good year this year, really. With obviously mainly staying on the continent. Under 19s, under 21s, and then of course, as I said in the intro, the Speed of Nations. Even though you didn't have much of an English season, apart from a couple of meetings, you still kept pretty busy.
Yeah, and I think I come on a lot even from the start of the year. And in August, I had the under 19 European Championship, and to be brutally honest, I struggled a lot. And it's easy to think back to last year where I struggled a lot, and I was thinking a little bit that it's going to be the same as last year, but I kept plugging away at it, and obviously I got there eventually, and yeah, even the last few meetings of the year with racing at the Pit Craven and the British final. This time last year, there's no way I would have been sort of winning races and beating the riders that I have beaten this year. So yeah, it's definitely been a positive year, and it's just it's a shame that it was a shorter year, and just hopefully carry it into next year.
Mm. Yeah, and that sounds real positive too. I mean, like I say, you made your British final debut this year, wasn't it? It's your first time you made the final.
Yeah, I was in the British semi-final last year, but again, that was a meeting that I struggled at. So yeah, it was great to race in the British final. It's just a shame that it wasn't on TV, or it wasn't at Ipswich where it was meant to be at first. But yeah, can't help it really, can you?
No, you can't, not at all. But still, you held your own in the meeting, and things like that, So you can't really grumble at it. And I mean, it wasn't exactly the strongest field in the world, but it was still a good field to ride against.
Yeah, it was, and you can only race who's in front of you, and I come away with 8 points, which is a good result. And those riders that I was racing in the British final are still riders that I'm going to be racing against this year. So um, I don't think it was, maybe it wasn't as strong as what it could have been, but it was definitely still a British final. So yeah, it just shows that I do belong in the Premiership as such, and yeah, I think I'll have a good season racing for Ipswich.
Yeah, and of course, again, it's your local club. It's probably a track that's going to suit you. you know, because you're, as well as a racer, you're a good trapper as well, you know, and things like that. So, you know, 2021 looks pretty good though, more than anything. So, and of course, then back at Eastbourne next year, you know, a track that I think you said in the past it's not been sort of like your favourite sort of track, a small tight track.
No, Eastbourne's obviously not my favourite track, so that's why I went there actually, to be honest. And I wanted to go somewhere where obviously I like Eastbourne. I have raced there and I've had good years there. So, but going back to last year again, it was a track like those sort of tracks like Eastbourne I really struggled with. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, I've gone there and I feel as though I'm gonna, come away a better rider, which is the most important thing. And I think that I'm gonna learn a lot each week I race there. So,
Mm.
we'll just have to wait and see. And yeah, I think that's quite a compliment saying I'm a good trapper. So, I'll definitely be working on that a lot in the winter, and hopefully I can prove you right.
Well, there you go. There's a challenge straight away. Then straight off the beaten track. No, I remember.
Yeah, yeah,
Obviously, I remember you when you sort of came on the scene, and like in 2007 was like you sort of like you dipped your toe into the National League. You didn't sign for anyone, but you did several sort of guest bookings, you know, and things like that during that year. And obviously, then 2018 is when you went to Mildenhall. And of course, I was there because I was helping Josh out. I remember that. So you know, it was all good fun then. But before all that, where did it sort of did you get the bug to sort of start going sideways then?
Well, to be honest, I had sort of no intention of doing speedway. I've been doing motocross since the age of 4, and I was national level motocross rider up until the age of about 13. And I just tried it 1 year in 2014, and like I said, had no intention really of going into speedway, and I just enjoyed it. So that's where it went from, through John Carpenter and my granddad, and yeah, it just went from there. So it's definitely the right choice, I think. Well, so far I'm definitely better at speedway than I ever was at motocross, and I'm probably better than what I ever would have been at motocross. So um, no, so yeah, as I say, it was just one of those things I just sort of fell into really, and was pretty lucky to have the people behind me, which still obviously help me now. And yeah, obviously without them, I don't think I would be doing speedway, let alone where I am at the moment.
Yeah, so how far in motocross sort of did you get then? Sort of like if you compare where you are now in speedway to where you were in motocross, how sort of far did you get? Was you like national level then, or was you a bit further on than that?
Yeah, well, I was in motocross. It's different. Obviously, you have age categories and bike, CC as such. So I suppose it's the same as the young lions these days, but there was a lot more of us with motocross, and I was top 10 in the country, so I wasn't terrible, but I was saying the other day, I think the problem lied with is I'm a lot more motivated to do well in speedway, and I want to be the best in speedway, and I know that deep down. Whereas motocross, I don't think I worked as hard as what I should have done, or was as dedicated as what I should have been. So yeah, I've obviously learnt my lesson quite a bit, and yeah, it's, as I say, the right choice, and hopefully we just keep getting better and better.
Yeah. Or maybe in speedway you've got more sort of doors open for you. I mean, I know you're on the pole tech lot as well and doing things like that because I say I had Ollie Allen on the last episode and he was talking about the pole tech stuff. So that sort of thing must have helped you with getting your bike sorted out, and then being able to fix things and everything else in between, really.
Yeah, and to be honest, the main person, as I said, that's got me where I am today is through John Carpenter, because he obviously taught my granddad and all of
Mm.
us how to look after our bikes, and yeah, he actually sort of loaned me a frame to begin with. So he's sort of the main one what's you know got me to the point where I am. But yeah, Poltech, obviously we learn a lot, and with Ollie, and that's another course that's obviously come on a lot through the years, and there's been a few good riders coming along that course. Yeah, there's a few more coming through as well. So yeah, things like pole tech are a good sort of background to get into Speedway if you don't know anything about it. And yeah, I've definitely learned several things from going there as well.
Yeah, and of course John Carpenter. I know him pretty well from when I was obviously riding and things like that. And he's nice enough bloke and would help anyone out if anyone was sort of stuck. So, I mean, to have someone like him on your side and probably still helping you out now, and probably even help you out even more now you're going to Ipswich. It's something that you need in your team more than anything.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a lot of experience and he's helped a lot of good riders, in the past. So yeah, I definitely think that his sort of experience is rubbing off onto me a little bit, and I've spent a few days with him and helped him out. So yeah, he's definitely someone you want in your corner, and luckily for me, I do have him helping me out. So
Yeah, say it's what you need. Of course, your family and everything all around you. Your dad's there, your granddad's there in the pits. It's a true sort of Kemp outing, isn't it? Really, if you think about it, to go to a speedway meeting.
yeah, it is, but I think you need, you know, all that support behind you. And like I said, which is what I have. So I definitely think that that's one of the advantages that I do have, maybe over some people. I know I get a lot more publicity maybe than other people, but um, I've worked hard at it, and yeah, it's definitely an advantage to me and helps me out a lot. So yeah, you definitely obviously need the support behind you, but you can't argue when you do have all the help.
No, no, not at all. I mean, like you said, you've got all the social media, everywhere. I mean, it's Barry Cross, isn't it, who does all your sort of stuff, all your promotional sort of stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Barry does all my things, so he literally does everything for me, all my PR. So he's brilliant at what he does, and again, he's another one where if he didn't do my sponsorship brochures and all my calendars and that book that I bought out a couple of years ago, then you know I wouldn't have all the help that I have now either.
No. No, proper superstar. He's got it all: calendars, books. I don't know. I don't think there's anything he hasn't got really. Maybe a bar of soap he hasn't got. And Drew Kemp racing bar of soap. That's what you need next, or a candle.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, don't give me any ideas because you never know.
Oh
I'll
well, there you
send one over
go.
to you.
Yeah, well, you never know. You never know. The old shop does get bigger every year. I do notice, but it's good. I mean, it's what you need. I mean, it makes you stand out from everyone else, and of course you get the sponsorship. They get the exposure. They're all happy at the end of the day. And I mean, again, for me riding, I know what it's like. The more the sponsors exposed, the better it's going to be, and the better they look after you. Apart from I had an interesting one with a sponsor who didn't really know Speedway and to put his sponsor on the wrong side of me with me Kevlars and then moaned at me all year that he couldn't see his logo. I said, well, I did,
Yeah,
t- I did, I did tell you that, at the start of the
that's the
year.
thing. It is tough, but you know, again, speedway is very much an image, isn't it, these days?
Mhm.
So, and it's obviously really expensive as well. So, the more you can get out with sponsors, the better it is. So, yeah,
Yeah.
it's obviously
Hang on. Hang on. The sound's gone funny. Hang on a second. So yeah, and I mean, if you do look after the say your sponsors, and of course, whenever I see your bikes immaculate, sponsors, everywhere, it's brilliant to see, And again, as I said, the financial side of it is huge, especially for you this year when you go to Poland.
yeah, and as a having good looking bikes is a pride thing more than anything. So, if you look good, then the more people you're going to get. So yeah, obviously it's going to be important with Poland this year. There's going to be a lot more exposure abroad, and to obviously a wider audience. There's going to be a lot more people at each meeting, and yeah, it's just going to look good for sponsors where if they're seen each week, and even back home in the UK on Eurosports. So I have a lot of help and a lot of really good help. which I'm really grateful for. So yeah, it's obviously, as I say, important to get all the help you can get.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. I mean, the travelling you must have done this year, let alone, and then obviously next year if we have a full season and you got the under 21s, probably European Championships of that as well. I mean, you might as well just go live in Poland for next year.
Yeah, you can see why they do it. So you know, I haven't actually done that flying to England to Poland each week yet. So I think I'll be in for a big shock, to be honest, when that starts eventually.
Yeah, all I say is I hope your passport's in date for next year.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because the
So
last thing you want to do is rock up to customs or something like that and say, "Ah, crap, my passport's out of date. It runs out
yeah,
tomorrow."
that'd be the next thing. To be honest, it wouldn't surprise me. So no, I'll have to make sure that's all in check and stuff like that's the stuff you forget, isn't it? It's the
Oh
most
yeah,
important. So no,
yeah.
everything will be all sorted for next year, and yeah, I'm just really cracking down now
Mm.
and looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I mean, before we dive a bit more into it, because I want to talk a bit more about next year and this year. Looking back at obviously when you first started, did you go straight into the 500 then, or did you start on the 250?
No, I started on 250. The actual first time I ever rode a speed bike was on a 500, but then I didn't do it for another year, and I went straight onto a 250, and I think that was probably one of the best things that I did was go onto a 250 because I got to grips with sliding it in rather than messing around on those 150, 125
Mm.
things. And they look pretty tricky to ride, to be honest. I wouldn't want to ride by myself. So, no, yeah, I went straight to 250 and did a year on 250 in a British youth in 2016 and yeah, 2017 and on a 500. So, it doesn't seem too long ago actually that I was riding a 250, and it isn't really 4 years.
Mm.
So, nah, as I said, it's probably one of the best things I did was going to a 250 rather than on 25.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd hate myself as well. I'd hate to ride these 125 engines. Fortunately, when I started, I grew up on the old Hondas, so they lasted forever. They were so easy to ride, and things like that. And rather than blowing up the little pit bike engines, but yeah. So the 250, you say you did the under 16s and everything. How did you get on that first year? Did you get much success out of it?
Yeah, I didn't do too bad. I was racing people like Jason Edwards and Leon Flint, who I'm racing now, but they've been doing speedway pretty much as long as I've been doing motocross
Mm,
almost. It was one of those things because they'd obviously been, although I'd been used to racing 40 people at motocross, the racing side of it wasn't too bad. It was getting used to the tracks and setups and different conditions and the racecraft.
mm.
So yeah, it took me a year or so to get used to everything and really sort of bed myself in. But as I say, the next year when I got onto a 500, I was really sort of able to start doing well and to start winning some youth rounds
Mm.
really.
Yeah, because when you went on to the following year, you managed to win the series pretty much and pick up your sort of first major honour in Speedway by winning the under 16s.
Yeah, and that was really great. And throughout motocross, I'd always sort of tried to be, well, I say tried, wanted to be British champion, and to do that in my second year on the first year on a 500 was great. And it wasn't I didn't have the best of meetings sometimes. Obviously, Rye House I struggled with. I crashed out of that twice, and Bellevue I snapped a primary chain in the last lap, so
Mm.
it wasn't easy. But it was all worth it in the end, and yeah, again, it seems like so long ago when I was actually doing that, but again, it was only 3 years. So
Mm.
yeah, we've come a long way since then.
Yeah, that's what I said at the start of this episode. I said the rapid rise, that sort of thing, because it is crazy to think of how short a time it is. I mean, they say that's 2017, and then all of a sudden 2020, you're in the national team. Literally, you're in the national team. So it's crazy to think. But in that 2017 season, you did manage to get quite a few guest bookings. I think I remember seeing you down at Eastbourne a few times and places like that. So was that sort of like your own personal choice, sort of like not to get tied down to a club then and just sort of dip your toe in to see how you got on?
Yeah, obviously, because it was one of those things where I wanted to get experience for the next year, and lucky for me, my birthday's in August, so when I turned 15 in August, I didn't have to do a full season really straight
Mm.
away. I could sort of, as you say, get used to the National League, which is what I did, and yeah, it was obviously my choice to not get tied down with a club straight away because I didn't want to sign for Mildenhall, for instance, and then I think it's 4 league meetings or something in the National League before you can get an average, and
Yeah.
I didn't want that for next year. So I wanted to obviously go into the 2018 with a 3 average,
Mm.
which is what I did. So um, yeah, it was my choice to ride for Mildner and Eastbourne, but I think it
Mm.
was one of those things where it was down to Mildner and Eastbourne for who I rode for next year. So it was good to ride for both those clubs and see what both of them about and how I got on there. So no, I enjoyed it. It was a
Mm.
good year, and a lot of learning was done there as well. But yeah, it was one of those ones where it was really frustrating to begin with,
Yeah.
but yeah, so a lot of learning was done and a lot of positives. Looking back now, were there. So
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, again for 2018, you were lucky enough to get down to the reserve on a 3 point average, bargain average as we would call it, sort of thing, sort of like a hot property in the National League. Everybody wanted you, sort of thing. But in the end, you plumped for Mildenhall, again
yeah,
local to you, sort of thing. So it must have been a great confidence boost for you to go to Mildenhall more than anything.
yeah, and again, like I said, it was down to Eastbourne and Mildenhall really, who I was going to, and I think Mildenhall was the best choice for my first year, with it being a Sunday and with my exams that year. Um,
Mm.
yeah, it was just the best choice for me, and I knew the track, I knew the people, and I knew the team. So looking when I talk about Mildenhall in 2018, it was actually I know I've only done 2 years in British Speedway, but it was actually the funnest year that I've ever had. So
Mm.
um, it would be nice to have a team like that again one day in the higher leagues, and yeah, it was just a really good year.
Yeah, it was. I mean, again, I was part of it because I was helping Josh out that year and things like that. And
Yeah,
it was such a shame that Milton didn't come away with more than just the national trophy, really, because
yeah,
it was only the fact that Eastbourne pipped Milton up to the league in the playoff final and things like that. But the racing all year for yourself was good because everyone saw you come from a rider down at number 7, then you went straight to number 1. I think within the first sort of month of the new averages coming out. And I think one of those meetings you got was it 21 point maximum, 18 point maximum most times down the reserve, and you think, bloody hell, this kid's got some talent.
yeah. It was mental, to be honest, and I obviously went into the 2018 year with a 15-point max straight away at Isle of Wight, and then 18-point max the next day at Plymouth, and it was just like I didn't really know, wasn't really expecting anything that first year, and it was one of those things where I wanted to be number one and wasn't expected to be number one. You
Mm.
expect yourself a reserve if they're going to do well to get like a second string rider, and yeah, I went to number one, and it was just unreal. I didn't know what to do, and obviously the ironic thing is I scored a 21-point max against Eastbourne,
Yeah.
so yeah, it was, as I say, such a good year, and so much learning was done in that year. But then I
Mm.
also think it made me um, expect a little bit too much for 2019, but you know, I'm gonna
Mm.
do that. I was only young, and yeah, to do that at 15 years old, to go from a 3 to a 9.15, I think I finished up
Mm.
on, was yeah, it was just brilliant. And yeah, also, as you say, it was a shame that Mildenhall sort of were pipped by Eastbourne in the end, but injuries were sort of not on our side,
No.
and yeah, that's what it come down to in the end.
Yeah, and I mean the team that Millwall had, you had obviously Jordan Jenkins, Josh Bailey, Ryan Kingsley, obviously Danny Ayres. Speaks volumes for the club and the team. And like I said, yeah, the injuries just caught Millwall out towards the end of the year. I mean, was it Danny Ayres was injured? Um,
Yeah.
Jordan got injured in the playoff final leg at Eastbourne. You know, everything sort of all the luck ran out for Mildenhall really. But like you say, great learning curve for yourself. Of course, going to probably some tracks you haven't been to before.
Yeah, and I think it was so unexpected for Mildnall as well because of how young the team was and how almost inexperienced the team was. So
Mm.
I definitely think obviously the fans of Mildnall are going to remember that for a while that year, and it's definitely a team that I'll remember for a long time. And it's of course been my first year, but these things happen, and yeah,
Yeah.
you can't change anything now, but it's how it goes.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I'm sure one of the clubs you sign for in the future, you will win a league title with. I'm sure you will win something like that and some major honours with the team. So as you're still
Yeah,
young, and things like that. So,
yeah.
but also in that
Yeah, no,
2018.
it'd be nice to win a couple next year. So with all three teams, that would be nice. But just got to do what I can do, and what will be at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I mean, you're surrounded, well, especially going into 2021, which would have been 2020. The guys you're surrounded with at all your clubs, you've got all the experience of a lot of English riders, a few good international riders, a certain Jason Crump at Ipswich. I don't know what he's done in his career. He's done a few things, I think. He hasn't done much, you know. but yeah, and I mean, you're surrounded by good riders. I mean, even when you went to Sheffield in 2019, okay, you say you had a bit of a duff season, but the guys you were around then, Carl Howarth, and you had Simon Stay's team manager. Again, you're surrounded by good people.
Yeah, and that's one thing I've always sort of been lucky with. Really, I've always again, I've only ever signed for three teams, I think, but all the teams that I've ever ridden for
Mm,
have had a good experience within the team and further down the line. I think some partly that reason is why I rode for that club, and especially with Sheffield last year, I had Steady in my corner and Danny King, and he was a big influence last year on who I chose for with teams, and yeah, he was going to Sheffield, so I knew he would help me out a lot, and that's why I went there. So yeah, and again this year I've got all the experience at Eastbourne with Louis and Richard and Ed, someone like Ed especially who's ridden and raced at Cardiff.
mm,
You can learn a bit from him, and it's not just what they do off track as such. It's how they race and the lines they take and how they commit to certain tracks. You can learn a lot from it. So yeah, just really lucky to have that this year, and I definitely think it's going to work in my favour and just make me a better rider in
mm.
general.
Yeah, and I mean, you can just be like a sponge, to so to speak, and just absorb all the information and help you move forward even more. I mean, like I say, with Sheffield and everything, let's just look at that season. I mean, you rode for Kent also in 2019, so you were doubling up. And how you say you had a bad year at Sheffield, but it still wasn't a bad year, I don't think, because you gained so much experience because you stepped your game up a bit more, didn't you, that year?
Yeah, and I think I did a better than what I actually thought I did, and I was started at number 7, and I had a couple good meetings at Sheffield first, and then at Redcar I had a good year and good meeting, sorry, and then I went to number 2 position, and I wasn't ready, I don't think, for it, but it was just one of those things. Obviously, my average went up, and yeah, it worked out that I stayed at that position all year. But as I say, I definitely learnt a lot more than what I actually thought I did. But it's just a shame it affected me mentally, really, and I think that showed in my National League performance, and I didn't ride as well as what I should have done, and I think also I grew a bit again last year, so um, I I wasn't. I looked a bit awkward on the bike, and I didn't look that good on the bike. So you know, last year was a learning year, and again, it's just one of those things where I'll learn a lot from it,
Mm.
even though it wasn't as easy as what I wanted it to be.
I think because obviously you had such a good 2018 with Millwall, where you literally hit the ground running, going up to the championship and everything was probably the right thing to do because it probably grounded you a bit more, And I mean, like you said, you probably had a few duff meetings, a few duff weeks, because which affected your national league. But still, looking at the teams on as you got in 2019, you still managed to win again the National League trophy, and you managed to win the pairs with Anders Rowe. So, Kent still had a good season regardless, I think.
Yeah, and yeah, Kent did have a good year, and even individually, I had a good year. And I won the under-19s last year. Um, of course, I finished second with Great Britain at Bellevue
Yeah.
in the under-21 Worlds. I qualified for the under-19 European Championships. So yeah, it wasn't a bad year. It wasn't a complete write-off.
Mm.
It's just a shame. Obviously, it ended like it did with Sheffield, and I couldn't sort of get my head fixed as such, and start putting some good meetings for both teams. But
Mm.
um, again, I qualified for the National League final with Kent, and we come up a bit short. But yeah, too short twice now. So I think I'm bound for some good team honours soon.
I mean, third time's a charm, isn't it? That's the way you look at it. So, but yeah, I mean, like you said, it's still been a very good year, 2019. Say British under-19 champion, making European finals and everything. I mean, surely the next thing really for you and your own personal goal is sort of like make the under-21 fight the series, the final series, and sort of
Yeah.
get yourself going a bit more in that sort of thing.
Yeah, definitely, and that's where you want to be, and I think that's where racing in Poland will really benefit me. And yeah, obviously the World Under 21 is a big goal of mine. It's obviously something that I really want to win somewhere down the line, and I just think it's a good area for for GP scouting and ex Liga scouting, which is where I want to be. So yeah, we'll just do what we can do, and which is what I'm doing. Keep working hard, and it'll all sort of fall into place eventually, I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it will do. Because again, you still got a bit of time on your side. I think you might be all right for a few more years. You know, but
Hope so. I've
yeah,
got
yeah.
4 years in that 21s it is. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not under 21 level nowadays, especially in Europe, is really really tough and really really hard. But like you said, you've got your foot in Poland, and hopefully Gdansk can sort of give you the opportunities that you need to sort of test yourself against these up and coming Poles. Not necessarily be against, I don't think, the top sort of Polish riders because you're not going to be in the extra Liga, but still, either way, you're going to get that experience. Have you managed to sort of get any track time at Gdansk at all?
not yet, no, but that's something that I want to try and do at the start of next year. Obviously, I'll be in contact with the club throughout the winter, and to be honest, I don't think Poland's winter is much better than the UK winter. So, um, yeah, obviously the tracks aren't great, and I know out there they're not one for riding wet tracks, which you know doesn't sort of matter to me. But yeah, they're not one to race on tracks like that. So yeah, hopefully this time, well, sort of February, March time, I'll be out there practicing and getting plenty of bike and track time in.
Yeah, again, that's what you need. I mean, it proved on the Speedway of Nations. Obviously, the two wet nights at Lublin. It was like it's just the way it goes, sort of thing. But going on to the Speedway of Nations, obviously you got the surprise call up. I can imagine saying that you're going to be in the team. Not necessarily on the 21 reserve, but the actual main team, preferably replacing Ty Wolfenden. Really, is where you look at it. It's
Yeah.
how did that sort of feel? Getting that call from Ollie and Simon.
It was brilliant. It's one of those things that you can't ever sort of put into words. And whatever sport you're it's always your ultimate goal to ride for your country, and for me to do that at senior and under 21 level in the same year
Mm.
is great. So yeah, it was a bit of a surprise when I was actually told I was in the team. I was, you know, told I was in the squad, but I
Yeah.
didn't know I was going to be in the team until Ollie told me Ty was on, obviously unfortunately injured. I think he broke his hand or something like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just one of those things where it's a sense of pride really, that they obviously think that I'm good enough, and I think that the things that I've been doing is correct. So yeah, you can't sort of beat that feeling really.
Mm. I mean, did you manage to get any sort of practice out there? Because I know you obviously didn't take part, you didn't actually get a ride in the meeting as such, but did you manage to get any practice on the Saturday? Would have been Saturday morning, Friday afternoon, maybe something like that, was it?
Well, we were obviously meant to get a practice and obviously race on Friday, but that was cancelled before anything could go ahead. And the Saturday just before the meeting, I was lucky enough to get a practice. So um, even just being amongst the best in the world in the pits is you know mad. I
Mm.
had Smarzek next to me in the pits, and I had Leon Madsen just across with Jason Doyle and Emil Seifertnov, and you look around you, and you're one of them as such. You're their equal. That you're
Mm.
there for a reason, and that's because you're on par with them. And maybe I'm well, no, I'll admit not at their level yet, but in your head you are.
Mm.
So definitely gave me something to aim for, even though I didn't get a race. And hopefully next year I can either be in the main squad or be in the under 21 spot, and yeah, we can get some races in and hopefully score some points.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally for yourself, it's going to be one of those years where it's going to sort of click a bit more for you. I think because obviously all the experience you've got this year riding in Europe, you rode in the Czech Republic, you rode in Germany, and places like that. That's still all going to help you in the long run because you managed to win the European Under-19 semi-final this year in Gustro. So again, it
Yeah,
was
well,
good enough for you.
yeah, well, that was last year that I did win Gustro.
Oh, was it last year? All right.
So yeah, it would have been nice to do that again, but obviously I finished fourth in the European semi-final this year, which
Oh,
was
right, yeah.
was quite good for my first meet of the year, really. So yeah, obviously all that racing really sort of showed, I think, into the meetings that I raced in the UK back
Mm.
here, and yeah, it's obviously going to help me again next year.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, there's not a lot else we can sort of say about it because obviously we've got to wait and see what happens next year more than anything. But fingers crossed we do get to go racing all over the world, sort of thing. And was you one of the few that went over to Australia at the start of this year to go and do the Test match series?
Yeah, yeah. So I was in Australia. I went out there December 1st last year, and come back January 22nd, sorry,
All right.
this year. So yeah, 7 weeks I was out there, and I tell everyone when I talk about Australia that I look back at it now, and it was such a good experience, and it's one of those things that um, you can't really experience over here unless I suppose you're on Australian racing over here. So um, yeah, that was great, and I can't really put into perspective or put into words how good it was, but hopefully I'll have a few more chances over the years to do that, and next year I'll be able to do that. But for
Mm.
now, it's yeah, enjoying Christmas at home rather than in Australia.
Yeah, you're not on the beach this year. You're kind of at home in the cold. It's a bit different, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, it is. So, but again, that was one of those things where it weren't even sort of the riding side of it. It was seeing the culture of Australians, and seeing what they did do on Christmas and New Year and every day. So yeah, it's definitely an eye opener.
And nice dry weather, I can imagine, for most of it.
Yeah, yeah. There was one day where it really hammered it down, but it was quite nice after all the weather that they had, the nice
Mm.
weather. It was quite nice to see some rain and to really sort of remind me of back home.
You know, one day, just a nice little flashback, just to remind yourself of everything of what we're suffering over here whilst you're sunning it up. But no, because
It was
I.
only 20 minutes, so I said,
Oh right, okay, we've got 20 minutes. You know, what's that?
yeah, I know.
Yeah. But well, I had Jason Edwards on the previous episode of this as well, and he said that the experience he got from riding Australia with Ty, you know, and again running against Crumpy and all the other Aussies, you know, in an English touring team, you know, it made him feel something different and make him feel like he's got to go up another level for next year. So I can imagine that yourself, Jason, even Tom Brennan, you know, Jordan Palin, you guys are going to be obviously the future of British Speedway for us and everything, but you're already making those strides forward that a lot of the boys didn't get the chance to, say, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, and that's obviously important, and that's something that I think GB have really cracked down on, and realised that that's where the future is as
Mm,
such in the under 21 squad, and everything obviously GB are doing is benefiting us, I think, and it's really professional now of all the fitness side of it, and all the mental and the physical side of it. It's not, you know, as simple as riding your bike on a Thursday, Friday night, which is what it used to be.
mm,
So yeah, that's obviously benefiting us, and trips like Australia, should I say,
mm.
is good for us, and it's, as you say, we're the sort of ones they look up to as the future GB riders. So yeah,
Mm.
something that is really sort of helping us out loads, I think, and it's showing.
Yeah, and I think, you know, not Jordan, sorry, but the Ollie and Simon, you know, they're trying to blood the youth in everywhere they can, along with Neil Vatch, who's done a good job for so many years at under 21 level. You know, and it's proven the last couple of years. Obviously, like you say, you got the second in the 2019 World Under 21 team final and third this year. So you know the team's pretty solid all the way through, really, because you last 2 years haven't been out the top three.
No, no, exactly, and um, obviously the last 2 years, the first 2019 we had Robert Lambert, which was good,
Mm,
but then that year they took me, Leon, and Kyle across, well, to Bellevue, so they had, well, three 16, 17-year-olds in that team, and then this year they had obviously Dan Bewley, but then we had Tom, me, uh, I can't even remember the others. Was Jason in the team, Jordan?
oh, I don't know. I
I
think
think
Jordan might have been there. I think it was Jordan.
Jordan and Leon. Jordan and Leon.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got no idea. I can't remember. But again, you know, they're taking a young team across and coming away with a medal is a good result. So
Mm.
you know, you've got to sort of look to the future a little bit, and they're not. Well, I mean, it would be nice to win, but they're not really expecting us to win it now. They're expecting us to win it in 2 years' time when we're all 18, 19, 20 years old, and then, you know, we'll be a team like Poland, and everyone will look up to us as the winners, which, you know, you look at Poland. So I think that's the plan, what they're doing, and that, I think, as I say, it's starting to show, and
Mm.
everything's starting to come good.
Yeah, and I mean, I really hope that Team GB do become some sort of force in Speedway in the future because the whole sport needs it. I mean, yeah, it's great to see Poland dominating everything, but it gets boring after a while. You know, the
Mm.
the thing we want is our homeboys doing it, but everyone in Team GB. Obviously, I don't know Rob Painter that well, so I don't really know that sort of side of it. But from what you guys have said on these shows before, you know, it's all positive. And has that sort of side of it really opened your eyes to how sort of harder work you had to put in rather than what you thought when you first started?
Um, Not really, because I haven't really been around Speedway that long to see what the older riders were like. And it was the same with motocross. You always had to work. I always sort of thought that the more hard work you put in, the more you get out.
Mm,
And so yeah, that side of it wasn't really, you know, new to me as such. As I say, if you ask a rider from 20 years ago, they'd probably tell you differently, where they used to smoke and they used to drink, and as I said, they used to turn up and that was that, and they used to race. Whereas now it's, yeah, as I say, a lot more behind the scenes. So yeah, that wasn't new to me, but you wouldn't. I think someone that doesn't know as well, you would be surprised at how much effort gets put into the sport, not just from the riders, but the organisers and the managers themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, we're all reaping the benefits of it now. You know, like you say, we've got a nucleus of kids coming through, including yourself. You know, all coming through. So hopefully, like you say, in about 5-10 years' time, can have about 3 or 4 of you in the Grand Prix series, maybe. You know, as well as being maybe World Team Cup champions or even Speedway Nation champions and things like that. You know, for the future. So, you know, it is looking really pretty rosy, I think. So, I mean, obviously the young 21s is your goal for the next couple of years. Are you then looking on to sort of like the European Championships and then obviously the Grand Prix series after that?
To be honest, I haven't really thought that far ahead. It's one of those things where you can get a bit carried away.
Mm.
Whereas, if I say in 3 years' time I win the World Under 21s, then I can look at what I'm doing after. But for now, it's just about concentrating on myself now and focusing on the things that are sort of there in my grasp almost. So, thinking about it now, obviously European sort of side, a bit like what Robert Lambert's done. He's sort
Yeah.
of done the right thing, I think. Gone into the SEC series and done well, gone and won that, and has moved on to the GPs. So it's obviously better to get into the GPs as young as possible, but then also it's, you've got to have the experience and the right equipment, and the toughness as well. So yeah, that's obviously something I'd like to do, and hopefully in the next sort of 10 years or so, I can obviously win the GPs and get that ultimate goal that I've been working for.
Yeah, and I'm sure you got. I mean, like you say, I mean, you got your head screwed on. You ain't looking at like what's coming tomorrow. Rather, you're looking like a year or two ahead of yourself, which is great to hear. You know, because it keeps you again, you're grounded, you're level-headed, and all that sort of thing. So you know, yeah, I mean, it's all positive. It's great to hear all this positivity, especially coming from like yourself, Jason, and other people as well. It's just great to hear it more than anything. But yeah, and I mean, you know, hopefully we can have some GB success, not putting any pressure on your shoulders, you know, but we want some, you know,
Yeah.
and all that
Well,
sort of
no,
thing.
I think it will sort of show the efforts of everyone, especially people like Rob Painter, what they've put into GB Speedway. There's a lot that he's put in,
Mm.
and yeah, I think if we get some success along the lines, then that would definitely be worth it. So it's coming, I think, and next few years, 3-4 years at least, I think we'll start to see GB being up there again and maybe winning. So
Yeah,
that's the ultimate goal.
it's good to hear the passion, you know, the passion to do well. You know,
Why not?
but yeah, it's
Got to
just,
be in, yeah.
oh yeah, you got to be, you know, otherwise you're in it to win it, you know, and like I said, you've won enough already as it is. You know, there's more to come in the pipeline. So, you know, but if we look
Hope
slightly,
so.
well, I have confidence if you don't, you know, that's the main thing.
That's good.
Yeah, but just look towards obviously sort of like next year and everything a bit more. And you know, say you're going to stay at Eastbourne, you're going to stay at Ipswich. You know, what is your sort of shall I say your success rate around Ipswich? Are you pretty? Is that something like sort of like your favourite sort of track, or is it one that you just want to improve on?
Again, it's one of those tracks where it's not my favourite. Obviously, I like the big sort of fast tracks, like the Polish ones. But when I used to ride around Ipswich second halves and even racing for them in the championship in the latter part of 2018, I thought I'd come on, leaps and bounds. So yeah, it's definitely somewhere that I think you can learn each week and get better as a rider each week, much like Eastbourne. It's
Mm.
obviously not as um, sharp as Eastbourne and as tough as Eastbourne, but it's got long straights and the track is really grippy. So yeah, it's definitely somewhere that I think is going to improve me as a rider and teach me the sort of all the aspects of speedway really.
Yeah, and I think a lot of riders like to go to the. I think the best thing. I think it was Taylor Paul spoke to me a few years ago and said that I think he signed for. I think it was like Redcar was one of his bogey sort of tracks, and he signed for them, and he had a really good year. And you know, if you go to your worst tracks and improve on your worst tracks, come to someone like you said, like someone like Sheffield again, you know, or wherever, big and fast, and you'll be cruising around him more than anything.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, I'm from Ipswich as well, so that was one of the main reasons why I rode there. It's not often you get the opportunity to ride for your home team. So, no, as I say, everything's sort of fallen into place a little bit of Ipswich with the track being tough, and which I'm going to learn a lot on, and me being from the town. So, hopefully, I'll be a fan favourite. I'll be disappointed if I'm not, but nah, we'll see. As long as I do well, then people will like me.
Mm. Oh, I'm sure they will. I mean, obviously, it's always good to have a local rider in any team. You know, it brings the crowds and it gives everyone something to cheer about. But is this sort of like your first sort of real dabble then in the top league in the Premiership then?
Yeah, it's obviously my first sort of stint at it and try at it. So um, I'm glad that I didn't go into the Premiership last year, which is what I was after, because obviously I was gonna had all the intention to ride for um, Ipswich for 2019 in the Championship, and when they said um, that they're moving up into the top league,
Mm.
it was one of those things where if I really wanted to, I probably could have done, but I wasn't experienced enough. There was no way I was good enough as such to go into that league. So um, yeah, it's my first go at it, and I think at the start of the year, when I was asked in February time or whenever it was, again, it was one of those things where I had to really think about whether I was ready and if it was the
Mm.
right thing to do. And doing the meetings that I did do at the end of this year, like I said, the Peter Craven, for instance, that was probably one of the toughest meetings that I've raced in, and to come away with 6 points is a really good job, I think. And yeah,
Mm.
so it's definitely sort of showed me that in myself that I am capable, and like I said at the start of the show, that I do deserve that place and that I do belong there, and I'm not just riding for them because I'm from Ipswich.
Yeah. But like you said, yeah, Peter Craven meeting, British final, you know, you can prove that you can hold your own more than anything. Whether you even if you get only like 6, 7 points a meeting, say for example next year, you know, that's still a good solid average in your first year in the Premiership. You know, and again, you're riding against Doyley. You're going to be riding against like Jack Holder, possibly Nicky Pedersen if he comes over with Sheffield, you know, and that sort of thing. So, you know, again, you're against some really tough riders, which, okay, I don't think you're. I know so far you seem like you've got your head screwed on. You're not going to go out there and go and get an 18-point maximum every week, but you're going to go out there and you're
No,
going to really mix it in. And I think again, if you accept the
yeah,
challenge of getting your start sorted out, as I've laid down now, you'll be you'll be well away.
yeah, and that's the important thing. I can say to you that next year I want to go in and score 10, 11 points, but each meeting. But then when I don't do that, or I'd obviously like to do that, but if I don't do that, then I'm going to get annoyed and frustrated, and my head's going to drop. And whereas if I aim for 5, 6, 7 points a meeting, and I'd start scoring that, and then I can start looking to score and aiming to score more points, and it will come. It's just about steps and
Mm.
experience, and I think once I get that, then yeah, the points will come, and I won't have to aim for points. I'll just start scoring them. So yeah, it'll be nice, I think, and yeah, just sort of looking forward to getting underway and showing everyone what I can do.
Yeah, I mean, also you probably might have even learned from when you stepped up with Sheffield. Again, you're stepping up another league, so you know how to sort of approach it probably a bit differently to how you did then.
Yeah, and I've I got a lot better equipment now. I think I invest a lot of money into my bikes and not a lot of money into myself, to be brutally honest. But that's what Speedway is. It's an investment, and when I can invest in my bikes and the points will come, the money will come, and then I can start investing in even better bikes and better
Mm.
equipment, and it will just sort of I'll just keep getting better and better, and you know be where I want to be in a few years, which is obviously in the Grand Prix and in obviously winning the under 21. So
Mm.
yeah, we'll see. Still got a few years, like you said, like you said. And, yeah, it's just about sort of focusing on what I've got to do rather than looking to where I want to be as such. That
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, it
Didn't
kind of.
really,
The,
but
the words were there, but not necessarily in the right order. I know what you meant.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's all right. Everyone else does.
Yeah, but I mean, say you've got such a screwed-on head, I think, and again, I think that's tribute to again the people you've got around you, again all the experience you've gained in such a short space of time. You know not to have too high goals that you can't achieve. You've got everything you're aiming for it. I mean, you've got now someone looking after your bike, so that's probably one less sort of real worry for yourself. You know the bike's going to be looked after. You've probably got an empty garage now, which is nice.
It's weird. I'd say that like granddad. So yeah, it's strange going in there and seeing one or two bikes.
Mhm.
But like you said, it's sort of a bit of pressure taken off my shoulders, and it gives me a sense of confidence really that I have Dave there, and I know the bikes are going to be the best they can be, and I know that he's going to prep them well. So um, I think it's good for Dave as well as me that we're working together. And I think obviously we're a good team. So yeah, obviously grateful for all his help as well.
This is the first time that you've got Dave helping you then this year.
Yeah, it is. So last year when I raced the under 19s at Redcar, he helped me out, and I said to him this year if he would be able to help me in the northern meetings, and he said yes. And when it was announced I was riding for Czech Pub in the Czech Republic this year, he asked if he could come and if I wanted any help, and
Mm.
he obviously came with us. So yeah, it's definitely, as I say, a team
Mm.
that's working well. And the last few meetings of the year, it's Pete Craven and the under 21s at Berwick. It was just me and him, and it worked well. So that's the important thing, and obviously he does really really well. He does the bikes really well to run.
Like, I,
So that's the most important thing.
yeah, like I said, it's a relaxed show, but Jesus Christ, I think you got even more relaxed than I thought. you know?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I do what I said. I do the things that I need to do, and yeah, I just let him do what he needs to do with the bikes.
So what's that? The bikes have gone out of the workshop, and now what? An exercise bike's gone in there instead, just to sort of make it look a bit more busier.
I don't know. Grandad's just got himself a new Yamaha, so that's in there at the moment, and he's playing
Oh,
around
right.
with that. So there's not much room for my stuff in there now.
All right. So at least he's got something to tinker with now. He's not going to get too bored twiddling his thumbs.
No, no, exactly. So he doesn't go out on it often, but it's just sitting there, sitting pretty in his workshop.
Mm. Well, that's all good to hear. But so when you have your stuff
Yeah.
in Gdansk, have you got bikes already out there then now, or have you got stuff to send out there?
Not at the moment. No, I'm obviously planning on having two bikes here and two bikes in Gdansk, and it's pretty stressful, really. The most stressful thing is sorting out engines because it's not as simple. All the tracks are fast, and you need a lot of horsepower around there. So um, yeah, it's not ideal at the moment. I haven't got a lot of money, so I'll have to get a job, which is what I'm trying to get. So once that's all sorted, then I can start to really look forward to the next year. But
Mhm.
as I say, it's just about 2 bikes here and 2 bikes out there, all
Mm.
perfect and as good as what they can be. And then it will all be really good, I think.
Have you got mechanics out there for yourself and already? Are the club supplying you with that sort of thing, or have you got to take you and Dave over there every week?
No, I think it'll be something the club will sort out for me, and so we'll have to see. I'll go out there, like I said, hopefully at the start of the year and sort a few things out, and really get to know the people, and yeah, leave the bikes out there, I reckon, and yeah, start racing in March time or whenever
Mm.
they get going.
Yeah, once the snow's gone and everything, once it's warmed up a tad, and you'll be well away with it. Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
don't like the cold, so the warmer the better, really.
so that's why you absolutely loved Ozzy then. No, you see, he's a warm guy.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't have thought it, but yes, rather be hot than too cold.
Yeah, that's understandable. So then, don't get this guy on a ice speedway bike. Then he doesn't want to do that. It's too cold for him.
No, no, I wouldn't be doing that. It's those spikes that get me.
Yeah,
I'd probably, be typical. I probably would hurt myself on one of them things.
yeah. But you never know. You could do something on the old ice hockey rinks if they have that ever come back in this country. For a laugh.
Yeah, I'll give it a go, but I can't imagine that'll be a career of mine, to be honest.
No, no. You see, it's a shame that we don't have that sort of thing nowadays. Those sort of fun meetings. But maybe one day they'll come back and you guys can
Yeah,
experience it. And that sort of thing. But
yeah, rising against Speedway, I think. So
mm,
the more people get involved and the more sort of people see it, then I think those sort of meetings will start to come back again.
yeah, exactly. Well, it's been great talking to you, Drew. I must sort of wrap this up a little bit because it's been really great to talk to you and hear you. But there is one question I want to ask you, and it's one thing that's bugged
Uh,
me, I think, for the last couple of years. It's I keep seeing on your photos. What is this green stuff you have over your knuckles? Is that to
oh
help with wrist pump, or is that just a thing for you?
no, it's so obviously when I did motocross, I was used to racing 15-minute races as such
Mm.
on rough tracks. So, I used to have they're actually blister things.
Oh,
So
okay.
although I don't get blisters racing speedway, although I don't think so because I wear these, but
Mm.
it'd just be weird for me now not to wear them rather than it'd just be weird for me to not wear them. So I stick with them and they're comfy for me. That they probably wouldn't be for someone who hasn't used them before, but they work for me, and
Mm.
I suppose that's the most important thing. But a lot of
Yeah,
people ask me that question too.
yeah, because it's one of the things I've seen you wearing, but I've never actually asked you what they were for. And I thought, well, he's on here, might as well ask him that question. Embarrass him a bit more.
Yeah. No, it's all right. So I get that question asked a lot, to be honest, and now you know.
Well, there you go. If you haven't heard it before, you have heard it
Take it as a
now.
responsibility, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, it might make you grip the
Um,
handlebars a bit tighter as well and things like that. So there you
yeah.
go. But like I said, I must wrap this up because it's been great talking to you, and hopefully maybe with a few ideas that I've got for the show and everything, maybe we can catch up halfway through the season or something if you're not too busy. The jet life you've got then in the summer, going from country to country, being a superstar, and all that sort of thing. But is there anything you want to say to anyone who watches this video as a Drew Kemp fan? Then do you want to say anything to them?
Wow. To anyone really, obviously, I think it'll be a good year next year, and obviously looking forward to racing for Eastbourne and Ipswich, and seeing everyone at the clubs again. So I'm sure I'll see you all next year, and have a good Christmas, and see you all soon.
I'm sure there's loads of people that would echo those sort of thoughts as well to you as well, Drew. So, but thanks again for your time tonight. It's been good fun, and hopefully you've enjoyed it, which is the main thing.
That's been good. The hour's gone quick, I tell you that.
Yeah, it does tend to go quick when you start chatting away. It does, but Anyway, everyone, if you've not seen any episodes, I do thoroughly recommend watching some of them. There have been some classic ones so far. This one, again, is brilliant because he's talking to the up-and-coming youth of British Speedway, and moving forward with everything. But if you want to watch any other videos or listen to any of them, log on to Spotify, simply type in the 5-1 Speedway show, and they'll come up on your search bars. Say, watch us on YouTube, follow us on there, follow us on Spotify, join the group, like the page, share it, do whatever you want with it. I'm happy with it. That's the main thing. And of course, any feedback on any of these videos would be greatly appreciated. But cheers for your time, Drew. Thank you very much. Hopefully see you next season.
Thank you. See you soon.